Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Eliana, you look the exact same in every video. You look exactly like this in your last video. You were wearing the same shirt. Do you only ever wear that shirt and do you need clothes or help? I only ever wear this sweatshirt because it is the comfiest and best sweatshirt in the world, for one. And yes, I am aware of the strips of light. Like, can we ignore them or do I have to move? Do I have to move? I moved. Now we're in my normal setup. And by setup, I mean in front of my bed. I'm very angry for no reason. And that's a perfect mood to be in to make a rant. So, I am in love with the BookTube community. I'm in love. I think it's great. I've gotten so many books that I've illegally downloaded from that. And I just love it. When you're watching all of these BookTube videos, you tend to be able to pick up trends. The two I really like are like Casey Aonzo and Lily C. Reads. I haven't really watched anybody else, but okay, I watched a lot of theirs, so it still counts. I'm using this cat stuffed animal. Here, introduce yourself. As a backrest because my back hurts. Like, there are some books of the BookTube community that they love, and then there's some that they hate. I don't know. They have a couple that they like. And one of them is Becca Fitzpatrick's Hush Hush book. And this is something that both of them talk about in a positive light. I've heard a lot of people recommend me, like Cassandra Clare and Becca Fitzpatrick. And I read it. And I hated it. Like, it's not, I don't want to be mean, because I know how hard it is to write, because I mean, I haven't written a book, okay? I'm sure it's very hard. I've tried. It doesn't go well. So I respect anybody who can put their work out there for the public. I think that's really awesome, and I support everybody's writing and the way that they're writing it. I just think some things are just not for me, and this was definitely not for me. And I was just really surprised, and I wouldn't normally make a video just because I didn't like a book, okay? Like, and it's not even like a bad book, like it wasn't poorly written or anything, but it's just a couple of these things that these people are talking about in their videos that they don't like to see are like all in these books. I was just really confused. I kept waiting for the part that would like redeem it and like make them like it, because to me it was pretty typical. It had a little bit some good lore, and there was like some cool stuff, and there was definitely like a plot twist at the end, but just a lot of it was really see-through if you've read any book similar to this ever. So I have several notes about this book. I'm just going to kind of read through them and discuss them a little bit. I think this is my first BookTube video I've ever made, because this technically counts as a BookTube video. So BookTubers, if you're watching, or people that watch BookTube, because everybody likes this book a lot, please don't hate me. I am so sorry. I just didn't really enjoy it, and I'm kind of confused why everybody who hates that these things I'm about to talk about does enjoy it. So this isn't so much as like a bashing video, although I am gonna clickbait it as a bashing video. So as like a Yahoo question, you know? So please provide your Yahoo answers in the comments below, because I still don't get it. The first thing, which is that it's a paranormal romance, which I already said, but just like the connotations of the words paranormal romance, for me, makes me want to vomit. Sounds like something published straight out of Wattpad, and it kind of was, okay? It starts off with a bunch of cliches. She's like drawn to him, and she uses that, like drawn to him. Like, it kind of sounded, a lot of the language when she was describing her relationship with Patch was straight out of like an adult romance novel, like the kind that like moms read in movies, with like shirtless guy with the long hair on like a horse with a rose in his mouth. It's kind of sounded like one of those things. And then the changing of the seating chart, that's just like a classic writer setup for a relationship. Oh, the seating chart changed. She has a new lab partner in science. Like, they're just kind of cliche. And his confident personality, where he's super like sure of himself, and like he says these things, like these sly, very self-assured comments about her, and he's like telling her about herself, and it's like all right. But in real life, that would come off as creepy. I'm sorry, it would. And also, when he does creepy stuff, there's a couple of times he coerces her into going places with him. Mini spoiler alert, don't read the book if you want, or just like skip the next little bit, and then I'll tell you why you maybe shouldn't read the book, unless you like this kind of thing, which you should read the book. or he manipulates her mind and makes her think that her friends left her so that he can give her a ride home, in which he was going to kill her after, by the way. The next thing I hated, and this is another thing people talk about in BookTube all the time that apparently just doesn't apply to this one, which is like the slut shaming. They were like telling her that she was wearing pounds of makeup, they couldn't even see her freckles, her hair, and like the smile she gave, and no man could resist, and they're just being really mean to this girl. I mean, in defense, this girl was being completely rude to them. She was like fat shaming V. So they made a huge deal about Marcy being a cheerleader, and I'm the last person to talk about this because I have my own personal vendetta against cheerleaders. No offense if you're a cheerleader, it's just like a long history of trauma with my sister being one and stuff. And even I was a little bit annoyed with how much that was going on. Okay, my next point reads exactly this, quote, "Literally half the book was just them hanging out. If you don't ship, it's not a good time at all. And also on whether or not he's guilty, but like, I don't care. Pretty obvious he's a fallen angel, but there's basically no drama with that until like the end, I assume." End quote. So when I wrote that, I wasn't quite at the end of the book yet, I was like halfway through, and I completely remember feeling this way. Most of the book, they didn't write it all about her life when she wasn't with Patch, or like if it wasn't a scene that would tie in to like the underlying plot of the supernatural thing. Like there was no just her and V hanging out except at the beginning to introduce V. And like there was nothing that was just like a break from the stupid drama, and that was just them being best friends. It was all, if they were going somewhere together, like the mall when they like were going shopping, it was because V was going to get like mobbed. Just like her and Patch hanging out and having their stupid romance, which made me want to cringe. I kept like having to stop reading the book to just like take a break because of all the like just like romance and like hormonal driven teenage stuff that was going on. And I was like, they didn't even do any more than kiss. But I was just, the way it was so hyped up was making me very second-handedly uncomfortable. I just had to stop. So if you don't ship, which I didn't really ship until like the very end, just kind of like I don't really care about who they're with, and also I don't have anybody else, so like sure, fine, whatever. And also it was so obvious that he was a fallen angel. Like it was so obvious most of the parts what was going on. I did not see the, spoiler alert, ending plot twist with Jules coming at all. I did not see that coming, but I knew Elliot was a bad guy, and I knew Patch was a good guy, because even though most of the book was about whether or not he's a good guy, that character is never not the good guy. Even if he is the bad guy, like how Patch like was trying to kill her in the whole assassination plot thing, he never actually goes through with it, and he didn't, because it's like that kind of book, and it's kind of predictable if you've read anything like it. Yeah, and as I've written here, he's obviously a fallen angel, but there's no drama with it. Like it's not like a fallen angel thing is going on until like the very end. The next point, these are kind of out of order because I don't actually write them in chronological. Well, I wrote them in chronological order, but when I write a new note, I just kind of click a random place on the page to make one, so they're out of order. Which is her horror movie house. It describes Nora's house, and it's literally like a freaking haunted, ramshackle, abandoned place, and there's like mist and fog, and it makes everybody uncomfortable, but she loves it because it has memories of her dad. But then she like thinks also that her dad's like watching over her, but like sometimes it makes her uncomfortable, and I'm just like, get out. That is creepy. She already thought she saw somebody watching her sleep, which she did. Get out! Why are you there? I would move in a heartbeat. Your mom's not there, you're home alone half the time, which in no way is like okay at all. Just because you have like a housekeeper. Like I'm pretty sure Child Protective Services would be on that, because I think she's 17, she's not even 18. But anyway. Another thing that's very cliche is all this freaking disappearing stuff that's happening. And at least it's explained, because it could be worse. It could just be not explained why that happens, why she like thinks she sees something and then it turns out she doesn't. I'm not gonna pretend to understand anything about this book because there's still a lot of it I don't understand. My next point is probably the one I'm most passionate about. You know when you read a story, mostly Wattpad stories, that start out with like, "Hi, my name is like Moonstone Skylight," and then you want to die? This is subtler about it. It's their last names. It's one of those things, okay? Her last name is Gray, which I'm sure to most authors it's like, oh, what's wrong with that? It's probably fairly common, which I get, but it's like kind of cliche to have your main character's last name be that. And then V's last name is Sky, V Sky, which is, Sky is never acceptable as a last name. Another point is the fact that Patch nicknames Nora Angel. Okay, so one, I think she's the only, And I don't completely understand some of this lore because I didn't bother to like try to figure it out. I was just like, I didn't care. But I don't think she's an actual angel, right? Like she might be like have a little bit of that in her genetics, like on her dad's side or something. But she herself, I don't think, is an angel. But he calls her angel, even though he's the angel, and also like everybody else in the freaking book is an angel, just not her. But he calls her angel. And if that doesn't already give away the fact that he's connected to something like that, like, how did she miss that? Another point, I'm getting so mad about this, is when he invites her to this freaking party. He's like, oh, you should come to this party. And then he like straight up says, come alone. Somebody invites you to a party and they look you straight in the face and say, after you've already had multiple red flag experiences with this person, come alone. There are some things you should do and not do in that situation. Things you should not do is come alone. I don't remember if she comes alone or not. I really feel like that's the kind of thing Nora would do. I think she had something else going on, which, you know, is ironic since the entire book revolves around her not being forced to do things with Pat. They introduce this new character like a quarter of the way through the book or something like that, and it's a psychologist, Mrs. Green. As soon as she meets her, as soon as they even said she had a new psychologist, I was like, okay, that's a villain. That is a character that is connected to the angel world, and it's also a villain. It's like the basic plot of these kinds of books where it's like, oh, you meet the bad character and you're not sure if they're innocent or not, but it always turns out like that they're like bad but also working for you, and then this other guy that seems like a way better option, by the way, turns out he's actually bad. There's always a third character that's in love with the bad one that you're not sure about, and like it just happened. And then when she's just like, you gotta stay away from Patch, like that's not a good kid to hang out with, you gotta stay away from him, and Nora was like, I wonder if that's because he has a track record. Obviously not. Obviously I didn't get that she was like jealous. I just thought she didn't like him or something, or that she hates him. I thought it was pretty good advice. If you think somebody is stalking you and following you around different places, which he was, don't hang out with them. And then also I'd written, it was pretty obvious that the psychologist only wanted to know about Nora's relationship with Patch. That's not what psychologists are supposed to do. Next point, I remember this. So Nora and V have this plan, and she puts on this wig and makeup, and she goes to try to seduce his co-workers to get them to answer questions about Patch, and then it turns out Patch is there because of course he is. But like, why does she have to be the one to seduce them, okay? I'm not trying to be problematic. I love V. I already said she's my favorite character. She's kind of the only one of like any kind of like not, well, it is a cliche personality. There's always the studious main friend and then like the best friend who's like the wild one and like boy crazy. That's not new. But honestly, at least V was like somewhat relatable and not just really stupidly superior about everything. V is the kind of person where honestly I think she would get a kick out of like seducing his coworkers. Like I think she would like that. So why is Nora doing it? Nora's like, oh, I can't believe I had to do this. Oh my god. And just like V would probably be like, yeah, I'll do it. Like fine, like that's fun. But like Nora does. And then of course she gets caught by Patch and it's this whole weirdly sexualized thing. It's just kind of creepy. The next point, which is absolutely not important, but it's only mentioned one time in the book, the name Hugo, and Hugo is her mom's boss, and it's like, oh, Hugo always has to call her mom because he's always screwing things up at the office and he always needs her to come and fix them for him. They are definitely having an affair. Like, there's no way they aren't. This is never mentioned. This isn't really part of the actual book. This is just like a fan theory. Not like a fan theory. Somebody who read the books, a theory. Next point is, I suspected Elliot. A book like this, if they introduce any character, literally any, that's not an obvious like mean girl villain like Marcy, basically any other character that tries to be friends with them that wasn't friends in the first place, definitely part of the supernatural subplot, no question about it. Like as soon as we met Elliot, I was like, honestly, cool guy. But because this book has followed every single supernatural, paranormal, romance cliche that there was ever written, ever, I knew he was going to be part of the supernatural world, and he was. The next point, and this definitely happened way earlier on, so this is just me being horribly problematic and keeping my things out of order, is how they keep running into each other. That is in no way a coincidence. Literally, Patch is so obvious about it. Nora is kind of an idiot about it, and like everybody else, and like V, bless her heart, is just like, oh my gosh, he likes you. But at least V is able to be like, yeah, that's a little bit weird. Do you think he's stalking you? Like, if that were to happen in real life, I want you to imagine this scenario seriously. You switch, like, seating charts. You're next to somebody else that's not your best friend. It's next to some creepy guy who, like, knows a lot about you and, like, follows you places and tells you to come alone to parties and, like, also walks into your house uninvited and, like, messes with your mind psychologically so you think things happen that didn't. Would you be strangely attracted to him? Okay, would you think that that's a coincidence? Because I wouldn't. The next point, oh, this makes me mad, is Patch, when he's talking to Nora, wipes off her lip gloss, which I'm sure is supposed to be sexualized, but I just found that incredibly rude. Girl, that's wasting lip gloss, you know how expensive that is. And he tells her she'd look better without it. That's not okay. Maybe if you're in a serious relationship with somebody and they're like, hey, I like you better with this, and that's okay to say, and it's also okay to be like, thank you, but I don't have to follow that. You shouldn't feel obligated to follow that, and you also shouldn't feel obligated to push your opinions onto other people about their appearance and how much makeup they wear. I already told you how I got mad about the makeup shaming. Now he's makeup shaming her, which she already did that other girl, and instead of being like, wow, that kind of hurt my feelings, and it's also my choice, and now I'm kind of feeling bad about what I did to Marcy for like 10 years. She was like, oh, I'm gonna not wear lip gloss anymore. And maybe other people found that as a sign that their relationship was evolving, and like, oh, that's so cute. That was just, like, now she's psychologically stopped doing it because he told her that he liked it better that way. And I'm just like, I don't think that's cute. I think that's kind of messed up. I cannot believe that actually happened in the book. And what I just read was an actual quote from the book, which is, of course, Patches. And he says, because I want to get you alone. He says that when he's inviting her somewhere. I think it was a different actual scenario than the come alone part. So this is 2 separate times he's been a complete red flag total creeper. And she acts like that's a normal thing to say, which it so isn't. The next part. And this part, I'm honestly not super mad about. I just think it's kind of cliche for a romance thing, is him talking into her mind. Like I said, at least they explained it, why she keeps seeing things and why he's talking into her mind. But like, oh, give me a paranormal romance that doesn't involve them having like a secret special connection. Okay, at least he can do it to everybody, and at least it's part of his powers. But like, still makes me want to vomit. The next point is him manipulating circumstances. He made her think her phone died, and that her friends left, and that so that she would go home with him on his motorcycle, which she didn't originally want to do. He just made her, and then her friends were looking for her all night. Also, at some point in the book, he talks to her mind and says, you want to kiss me, or like, something like that. So he made her want to kiss him, or he was trying to manipulate her, which is not okay. Like, do you understand? Like, am I crazy? Am I the only one that thinks that that's completely not okay? That is not consensual? If you have to tell somebody they want something, that is not consensual. That is an abusive relationship. Like, how is this a romance novel? Also, the freaking motorcycle. How cliche. When characters like Patch, who has this, like, black, absorbing all light eyes, and his dark hair, and his freaking wing scars, come in and are riding a motorcycle, it makes me want to not read the book, for one, but it just really upset me. Also, another example of him overstepping his boundaries and being a total creep, when he took her keys, like, he's like, oh, you dropped them. I do not believe that for a second, but also, even if she did drop them, you know what you do? Hey, you dropped your keys, here, this is how to not creepily give them back to you, instead of just using them to enter your house uninvited. In which he, again, spoiler alert, was planning to stab her with a knife. Still gonna go back and read some of the things I had screenshotted. Okay, I just read the paragraph that I screenshotted it, and I was like, oh, that seems like kind of fine, like, why? I'll read it to you. He spun the knife, handle pointing toward me. Come here, I'll teach you how to make tacos. I didn't move. There was a glint to his eye that made me think I should be frightened of him. And I was. But that fright was equal part allure. you see what I mean about breaks to be less uncomfortable? Because I am so uncomfortable. I'm like cringing on the inside. How about a deal? His face was bent. Okay, he didn't stutter. He like trailed off, but I can't read that in a sexy way or like I will vomit. His face was bent down, shadowed, and he looked at me through his lashes. The effect was an impression of trustworthiness. Help me make tacos and I'll answer a few of your questions. I would rather you stab me with that knife, to be honest. The makeup shaming, yet again. Okay. In all honesty, I had mixed feelings about going makeup free. Not because I did feel a little bit naked, but because Patch had put the no makeup suggestion in my mind. In an effort to make myself feel better, I told myself my dignity wasn't at stake. Neither was my pride. I'd been given a suggestion, and I was open-minded enough to try it. Oh, as soon as Elliot comes into play, Marcy hits on him immediately because of course she does. I'm not slut-shaming Marcy. I'm talking about the clichéness of the whole affair, which is, that's because you haven't met anyone better, like me. Marcy twisted her hair around her finger. Marcy Miller, you'll hear all about me soon enough. Either her eye twitched or she winked to him. And then of course, Elliot ignores her because of course he does. And every guy in this entire book exists only to talk to Nora, basically. Or almost murder her, you know, like, literally, can we talk about this for a second? The villain of the book tries to kill Nora. The best friend of the villain in the book tries to lure Nora into different traps so that the other guy can kill her. The romantic interest in this book tries to kill Nora a couple of times, then just decides not to. Just go on a vacation, girl. Like, literally don't date any of them. Just don't. Like, anyway, this is when Marcy first comes in and they describe her. Just then, Marcy Miller, the only sophomore to make varsity cheerleading in the history of Coldwater High, took a seat on the edge of our table. Her strawberry blonde hair was combed into low ponytails, which is a look, I guess. And like always, her skin was concealed under half a bottle of foundation. I was fairly certain I'd guessed the right amount, since there wasn't a trace of her freckles in sight. Makeup shaming. Yeah. I hadn't seen any of Marcy's freckles since 7th grade, the same year she discovered Mary Kay. No spawn. There was 3/4 of an inch between the hem of her skirt and the start of her underwear, if she was even wearing any. Rude. That's what we call slut shaming. And then also, Marcy then turns around and says to V, hi, supersize, which is fat shaming. So this is just a really good book for girl power. Okay, that's all my notes, as this is an outro, so I know a lot of people like to click off during outros like me, too. But if you thought it was funny, even though this really wasn't a joke, this is kind of an honest to God, review, okay, a rant review, because I didn't like it. I thought it was cliche. I thought it had a lot of bad morals, and I think if anybody seriously lived their life like the characters in this book, they would be like in big trouble. Like, come alone to a party, okay, like hang out with guys that try to kill you, okay, like be sexually manipulated by a psychopath and also his like crazy ex-girlfriend, okay, like it's just not. If you want a quick read, if you want to know what everybody in BookTube is so in love with, then you have to, like, I think you kind of have to read it because everybody's read it if you're really into the BookTube. So I'm glad I read it in that respect, but oh my gosh. I'm also glad I got to make this video because hopefully people will watch it. I gotta edit it down. It's been 40 minutes of me talking about a book I didn't like. I'm not a good booktuber. If you agree with me, more importantly, leave your opinions in the comments. I'm actually serious. If you haven't read the book, you can literally comment, I haven't read the book, sounds like a good book, sounds like a bad book, sounds like something I should read, sounds like I liked your video, because of this video I want to read it, because of this video I don't. I agree with you on this, I agree with you on that, slut shaming is not okay, whatever. I don't really care, just comment, because I love hearing from you guys. That's my favorite part, especially in videos like these where it's mostly opinionated. I would like some fight back. If you think I'm a complete idiot for saying all the things I've said, tell me why. That being said, read the book if you want to. If you don't, that's fine too. Definitely go spam like Casey Alonso and Lily C. Reads and be like, hey, new booktuber on the block, you should check out this video, because I want them to notice me, please. Actually, Casey and I have DM'd a little bit. Well, not like as YouTubers. I DM'd her and I was like, hey, I have an idea for your channel. And then she actually did it, which is like kind of crazy. I DM'd her and I was like, you should do a series where you read your subscribers' Wattpad stories, and I put my Wattpad because I am a narcissistic person, and she explored the world of Wattpad. I don't think she's read their stories, but she definitely got on there, so I was kind of excited for that. Okay, bye. I need to stop talking. Subscribe.